Hello, children of the Wizard. Today we are talking about Triumvirate. Triumvirate is a server that many people are very fond of, and a server that I have been part of for about 3 months of my life. Yeah, I haven't been a member of Triumvirate for all that long, but in all that time I have learnt lots about the history of Triumvirate. After asking many higher-ups, like the great wizard himself, and even a few old-time members like TheUnboxxer, and even DSN Dave, a very old member from the founding of Triumvirate, I have finally found some information about Triumvirate. I have also been helped quite a lot by the wiki that they have on WikiFandom and their brand new website, which I would definitely recommend checking out. It supplied a lot of information and goes into a lot more depth than I did. So if you want to learn more about Triumvirate, I would definitely recommend going there. But without further ado, let's get right into the timeline of Triumvirate. The founding of Triumvirate. Originally, Triumvirate, believe it or not, wasn't called Triumvirate, and way back in 2017, the Wizard created a server called Verdia, meaning green in some language. Back in around 2017, it was started and is unofficially referred to as Season 0. It lasted approximately 3 years, all the way up to 2020, when apparently Wizard doxed himself and was forced to shut down Verdia. At which point, DSN Dave, who was a regular member, essentially just stayed in the background. From what I can get from DSN Dave, he wasn't an active member and wasn't someone who was always on. Other members who used to be on more were less excited to give me information and were much more quiet about the season. So, from what I can tell, I essentially have no information about DSN Dave or Season 0. So, without further ado, straight into Season 1. Season 1, it finally begins in around 2021 and lasts a year into 2022. It was described as just a reset with better plugins, to be honest. It was still called Verdia, to my knowledge, but it is officially called the first season because its name was changed to Triumvirate during this. So the name change was activated because Wiz was reminded of him, a player called Trifem, and Private Zim, who were the main 3 people on the server. And he was reminded of an old Roman leadership model that had 3 people in charge, called triumvirates. And because that reminded him of his friends, he decided to call the server Triumvirate after them. We actually have some information on the first season, mainly around 2 or 3 different factions. The first one were the Dragon Lords. They were named after their leader, possibly, Arthur Lewis Pendragon. Not much is known about them, but they did collect the all-famous dragon egg that was very important, and later sparked a little bit of a conflict. We'll get to that in a sec. The second faction were the Elves. The members of this were a Train, TheUnboxxer, LinkyBoy101, and somebody named Flappy. All 4 of them were mostly quiet and don't really attend to stuff on the Triumvirate server anymore, but a Train, who was quite a famous member back then, had started building farms and was apparently one of the more active members, and lasted for quite a few seasons. So, if you recognise the name, that's probably why. The other 3 mostly just faded into obscurity. The Forest Elves Temple was a Forest Elf temple built by Linky Boy 101 and TheUnboxxer. It even had a dungeon for storing people? I don't really know. From what I could get from them is that they were planning to store prisoners of war in the basement. But it didn't end particularly well. The war between the elves and the dragon lords. This is a strange war, and I'll try and sum it up in the best way possible. So, it started with the dragon lords having the dragon egg. So the dragon lords had made their way to the end, killed the dragon, and taken the egg. Originally, it was actually used as furniture, as a lamp, but after a bunch of the forest elves had tried to steal it, the lamp, aka the dragon egg, for no reason, it had been decided that Arthur Lewis Pendragon would store it inside of his end chest. He was attacked by TheUnboxxer and Linky Boy in a snow biome, but the dragons eventually won the war and ended with the dragon egg. Quite a short war, but it was interesting because it was the very first war on Triumvirate. The end of Season 1. TheUnboxxer found a trident and eventually, accidentally, definitely on purpose, killed Wiz and ended Season 1. The story that he told me was that Wiz was building at the spawn area, and he realized, TheUnboxxer, that Wiz was in survival mode, meaning he could be killed. So, naturally, TheUnboxxer decided to kill Wiz. He killed Wiz, and because the great creator was now dead, the entire world collapsed. The start of Season 2. At the start of Season 2, 3 major races, the dwarves, humans, and elves, were created by Wiz. Each one had its own story and own life. So, let's go through it. This season has a lot more information because more people were part of it, and there was more conflict, which is what we like to hear. First was the dwarfs. Generally shown as evil and power-hungry, they were led by Gurbai. Gurbai was a player who wanted nothing but power, and he created the very first stronghold of the dwarves, which he named New Moria. Next were the elves. The elves actually had 2 factions, the forest elves and the mountain elves. The forest elves were more important and had, as a member, Not Banana Head. They were viewed as generally good, although Not Banana Head isn't viewed that way in the modern day. Not Banana Head is still actually an active member and wasn't particularly good against me in the war against MTGA, but we'll get to that another day. Flappy, you might remember him from earlier, however, had started a faction of evil elves, including known hackers to get the edge over the other factions. Finally, we have the humans. They were very peaceful and neutral. The Great Raptor, still a modern day member, set up the Italian Confederation, only continued after Season 2 as the No Names, led by Premium Axolotl, who was a very powerful member at the time. Weirdly, there was also these guys called the Orcs, although no one has actually confirmed anything about them. I don't think much happened with them, and I don't think many people picked the Orcs, so they were hardly useful. The Elf Embassy Plaza. Not Banana Head set this up, the Elf Embassy Plaza, as a way to strengthen bonds between elves and dwarves, but kind of ended with the finding of New Moria and Banana sharing the cords with everyone else on the Tree Elf team. the Age of War. The Age of War generally was considered to be a war between the two most powerful factions, the Forest Elves and the Dwarfs. But other factions did also include themselves. There was lots of fighting, there was lots of infighting, and lots of movements around. The exact details are lost to time, but what we do know is that it resulted in the Great Silence, which was basically where everyone was like, guys, let's stop fighting. And they did. The only problem was this led to no one being online and nothing happening for around 2 months. So, after everyone was tired of fighting, people started to leave and no longer enjoyed the server. After a while, Wiz himself closed Season 2 and opened it up to the brand new Season 3. Season 3 saw large growth in popularity. There were many, many factions, and I'll go through as many as I can here, but if I do miss out a few, then, sad. The first faction I want to talk about is the Orcs. The Orcs were run by the Great Raptor and were created by the Wizard when he was making the frog. And they were viewed as a generally chill group, actually. They didn't do a hell of a lot, and they mostly hung out in one place, eating, drinking, and making great toasts to the Wizard above. They worshipped him and didn't tend to do a lot. There was no war, no fighting with them, and they seemed like they were set up to be the good guys, which you don't get to say about orcs in most story. Next I want to talk to you about is the Aztecs. The Aztecs were a very small group founded by Not Banana Head. It didn't last particularly long, and Banana disbanded them because he wanted to join the far superior Mafia. Talking about the Mafia, if we go on to them, they were inspired by the Italian Confederation. The player Big Tony had made the Mafia. They were best known for their building and use of breadsticks, pizza, and the phrase, "Hey, I'm walking here." I will not do the accent. They built something known as the Great Skull. It was a powerful base that many people saw as the headquarters of the Mafia. Later on in the season, Fitch Dich was created by It's Japong. I cannot pronounce these names. Fitch Dich, what basically means F-U in German, and was made as an opposition to the Mafia. It was known often as a bit of a joke, and not particularly many people decided to join, so they saw very little success over the far supreme Mafia. The introduction of drugs. The creation of Zaza, also known as Puff, was shared among the Orcs and was thought to have originated from the player Chrome Beetle. It was later banned by Wiz because the Orcs became less subservient and he didn't like it. Eventually, Season 3 collapsed and became the far superior and very new Season 4. If you want more information, please leave a like below. I really need them. This episode took a surprisingly long amount of time to get the information because, I don't know, I spent like a day doing this, just getting the information, and I'm very tired now. So, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Once again, please leave a like if you did enjoy it, and hey, consider subscribing because episode 2 is coming out very, very soon, and that should have all the information you need to know about Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, and Season 7. This might take me a while. They have a lot of information to them. Oh well, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.